Evening, everyone. Thank you for calling into this hearing. We will be starting shortly. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. You will give us one more moment. We're almost ready to get started. Evening, everyone. If you'll bear with us one more second, we are getting everything lined up technologically. Westmoreland, I chair the Community Development and Human Services Committee of the Atlanta City Council, and I'd like to call to order this Beltline Special Service District Tax Levy hearing. Ms. Pulandini, will you read the remote meeting statement, please? Before you do that, I do want to acknowledge that I am joined by my colleagues, Madeline Archibong, Justin Hillis, and Carla Smith. Ms. Pulandini.
This public hearing is being conducted remotely as advertised and as in accordance with OCGA 50-14-1. The public may access the meeting by dialing 877-579-6743, conference ID 831-599-1256, or they can view the hearing on the Council's YouTube channel, the Council's Facebook or Twitter pages via @ATL Council or the Council's homepage. The hearing presentation is available on the Atlanta City Council Community Development Services Committee presentation page, and the public was able to submit comments via voicemail at 404-330-6090 between the hours of 4 and 7 p.m. the day before this hearing. All persons present on the remote hearing conference bridge are requested to mute your phones and speakers. Additionally, speakers must be acknowledged by the presiding officer prior to speaking. Thank you all in advance for your cooperation.
Thank you very much. We are also joined by Councilor Michael Julian Bond. At this point, I would like to hand things over to representatives from the Atlanta Beltline, who will provide a brief overview before we hear from members of the public.
One moment, please.
Good evening. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. Good evening. Again, this is Clyde Higgs. I'm the CEO for Atlanta Beltline, Inc., and do want to just touch on a couple of slides regarding the Special Service District. So what we are talking about for the SSD is a fundraise of this proposed district that would ultimately help us to acquire, design, and complete the remaining mainline Beltline trail. Again, the funds would specifically be used for acquisition of real estate, design, and construction. We are proposing a $2 million increase, and the properties that will be included are commercial, industrial, and multifamily residential within the Beltline planning area. And Julia, please, if you can go to the next slide, you will see a representation of what I just shared. You can see the proposed district in pink here, which fits into the Beltline planning area. And so within this proposed district, and please move to the next slide, there are roughly 3,500 parcels, which represent roughly $3.1 billion in assessed value in this proposed district. And again, just to reiterate, we are proposing a $2 million increase on those commercial, industrial, multi-family residential properties within the district that was shown on the earlier slide. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Mattenberg, will you play our 13 minutes of public comment? And I would also like to acknowledge that we have been joined by our Council President, Felicia Moore, and Council Member Andrea Boone.
Hello, my name is Rita Neely. I'm calling, I live in the Underwood Hills neighborhood. I was calling because I have some concerns about the proposed SSD, specifically having to do with the fact that our district has paid in quite a bit of money and we haven't seen any development in our area. To remedy this going forward, I ask that you use the money that has been collected in a specific area to actually plan and build the Beltline in this area retroactively and in the future, and to make sure that that's being accounted for. I also ask that you start earmarking those dollars and accounting for them so that we're not spending money in a different part of the city when it was collected in our northwest area. And if that can't be achieved, then I ask that you stop taxing our commercial community for these things, because they're not benefiting from them, nor are the residents that go to those businesses benefiting from them. Thank you, and have a great day.
Hey, my name is James. I'm calling about the tax issue on the west side. I'm a small business owner on the west side. All small businesses are concerned about right now is trying to respond to the impacts of COVID and keep our employees on the payroll. I mean, this is the middle of COVID, and to increase taxes just seems crazy. I'm opposed to this tax unless you can earmark funds to the northwest section of the trail and delay the tax levy for several years. Thank you for having the opportunity to voice my opinion.
Hi, this is Jim Martin. I am the chair of Neighborhood Planning Unit D and of the Atlanta Planning Advisory Board CDHS Committee. I'm calling to comment on the proposed Beltline Special Services District. I left some comments on the other line as well. I personally am opposed to this. APAP's position on this is that we are calling for delay in action to allow sufficient time for public review and comment, specifically by listing this for review and comment on the agendas of all of the affected NPUs. NPUD's position on this is that we are calling for denial of this. We believe that it has not been properly thought through and that the boundaries of the proposed district are arbitrary, particularly in our area where they will impose the tax on many local businesses that will see no benefit whatsoever from the project. Additionally, we believe that the project is desperately in need of rebaselining before any new taxes are imposed, as what is currently being sold as completion is not in fact completion at all unless there is some new definition of completion that has not been shared with the public. Moreover, there is no budget associated with this, so all that you are really being asked to do is to impose a new tax that will simply throw more money at the project in the hopes that something good will come of it, and that seems ill-considered, particularly since the current budget for the project out of the tax allocation district is more than sufficient to complete the trail network, if that is all that is sought to do, and that seems to be all that is sought to do. So unless there is some evidence for some other a reason why more money is needed for this project, I see no reason to pursue the Special Services District. In addition, I would like to point out that Article 9, Section 5, Paragraph 2 of the Georgia Constitution states that a referendum is required before debt can be issued, secured by the Special Services District. And absent that debt, which is not contemplated by those advocating this, there would be no point.
Hi, this is Elizabeth Hollister. I represent Upper West Side CID in Sub-Area 8 of the Beltline planning area. Our CID's biggest concern is that the SSD does not ensure that the 2 miles of future Beltline in our CID actually get built. Right now, we are last on the implementation list, and this SSD, when combined with other funding sources, only ensures that the Beltline gets $300 million out of a $350 million price tag of finishing the trail. So that last $50 million of the capital stack represents our area. Yet, our area has contributed over $70 million to the Beltline already in the past 15 years. And the group of tax allocation district properties within our CID currently funds over 20% of the current tax allocation district revenue. Our CID section of the SSD will make up the same or more percentage of the SSD revenue. We're asking CDHS committee, as a major contributor to this SSD, to amend the legislation to confirm that properties in Sub-Area 8 will see some benefit that justifies our inclusion in the tax district. We're only supportive of the SSD if the taxes collected from Sub-Area 8 are only spent on the trail in Sub-Area 8. Thank you.
This is Robin Rosenberg, and I've been a commercial property owner in Blandtown for 40 years. In the weeks since I've heard about the SSD, I've attended many meetings, including several sessions with the Beltline. And after looking more closely, I'm requesting that even more urgently that you consider postponing or denying this SSD. In our Northwest area, there is no plan, none that has been articulated in any of these meetings, although we're told there's a proposal for a design, which is not a design. I have no assurance where the Beltline will go, who will fall within the half-mile either side area, or what it will look like once and if it's built. The initial Beltline plans in our area included transit stations and more, and those TAD dollars that we've been paying for the past 15 years have not been a benefit to this area. There's been no investment in the Beltline in this northwest portion. It feels as though we were promised something big and wonderful, and we haven't seen anything yet. And in the end, there might not be enough money for much more than a goat tap, from what I can tell. Pandemic aside, there is a lot of talk about a 2 mil tax, which, in spite of what is said, is not inconsequential. Then I read an announcement that the request is actually 2.5 mils, so another misleading statement. And $50 million short, with no transparency on the charitable portion and nothing clear about the last $50 million. We're in the final and most difficult portion of the Beltline, and I would love to see it happen, but this feels hurried and unprepared. At the very least, the taxes raised for a portion of the Beltline should be committed to this area. I hope you'll wait for a better plan with a clear accountability. Thanks a lot.
This is Scott Pendergrast, General Partner and owner of Little Five Points Partnership. I ask that the City Council members do not rush to approve a property tax increase of 2.5 mils on commercial properties in a Beltline Special Service District. My Little Five Points Partnership is owner of the building at 1099 Euclid Avenue in Little Five Points and is leased to Variety Playhouse, a music venue that has been closed since March 2020 because of the pandemic. While the Special Service District is intended to include properties within a half-mile on either side of the Beltline, my Variety Playhouse property is a 3/4 mile walk from the nearest point on the Beltline, which is at the Freedom Park Path intersection. In 2020, I paid a total of $33,415 in property taxes on my Variety Playhouse property, and $7,775 of that went to the City of Atlanta's General Fund, Bonds, and Parks. The remaining $25,600 went to Atlanta Public Schools, Fulton County Government, and Little Five Points CID.
A $2.5 million tax increase on a Beltline for a Beltline Special Service District would add $1,900 to my annual tax bill, which would be a 24% increase above the $7,775 in property taxes I now pay annually to the city. The Beltline benefits the entire city of Atlanta, and I suggest that the burden of bridging the Beltline's funding gaps be shared citywide. Thank you, Scott Pendergrast.
My name is Renee Wright. I am the last year's president of the Blandtown Neighborhood Association. I am in Sub-Area 8. I have grave concerns about this SSD millage tax. Despite Sub-Area 8 contributing substantially to the Beltline, the ABI coffers over the last decade plus, we have received, as of yet, little to no benefit. Blandtown thus far has had no property acquisition, no specific planned route, no timetable for planning, much less a timetable for completion, and no answers ABI can give us as to when we will have these things. I am loath to support another blank check for ABI if, after 16 years, they have not even begun to put any of that money into our segment of the Beltline. The west side of the Beltline has supported the east side of the Beltline for a decade, and I do not want to see more money from Sub-Area 8 collected and poured into projects that are not directly for planning and construction of an actual Beltline in Sub-Area 8. I can only support this tax if there are metrics and accountability built in to assure us that the money raised in Sub-Area 8 will result in public Beltline spaces actually being constructed in Sub-Area 8. Again, we would like metrics and accountability built in to assure us that the money raised in our area will no longer go to other projects. We want it to result in public Beltline spaces actually constructed. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Lacey Trost. I live in Blandtown in the MWest 2 community, and I'm currently the president of the MWest 2 HOA board. I'm calling to respectfully request that the City Council please provide for independent financial oversight and a funding guarantee in the proposed Beltline SSD legislation. My neighbors and I understand that the Beltline may need more funding to move forward with its plans, and we feel strongly that reasonable guardrails will help make sure Beltline preserves resources for the Northwest segment construction in 7 to 10 years. Thanks so much.
Hi, my name is Frances Shaw. I'm speaking on behalf of Kingslaw Art Center LLC, who owns approximately 55 parcels in Kingslaw Condo, which is a total of 99 parcels. We cover half a mile of streetfront property on West Mariana Street Northwest and 12.5 acres of land. I want to explain why this needs to be a lower mill citywide tax delayed until 2022. Small businesses are currently still struggling in this pandemic. It's not over. Many businesses are hanging on by a thread. Landlords have taken rent reductions, and a significant majority of Georgians are still not vaccinated. Your map for the Beltline tax includes multiple small businesses that are still unable to open their doors to the public due to COVID-19. Here's a real-world example of your proposed tax. At the 2.5 mils listed in the AJC, your tax would bill a small nonprofit art theater that's been closed for the whole year, all 12 months with no patrons, $800 in September. Government assistance is still difficult to obtain. The theater is still unable to apply for the Save Our Stages fund. It seems like the Beltline does not know what is happening in the real world for Atlanta small businesses. Another example is a catering company that's been affected by the pandemic. They rent multiple studios for their kitchen, their freezer, and to store their tables and chairs. Their SSD tax this September will be over $2,500. The Beltline has already broken their promise of transparency. None of our 100 studios spanning 5 street numbers received anything in the mail from the Beltline about this tax. They have not spoken to small business landlords. They have spoken to the largest rental companies and land developers in Atlanta. The council has not heard the voices of small businesses, artists, and nonprofits because the Beltline did not include them in this conversation. As a landlord, we've had over 20% turnover above our typical rate. This is due to small businesses closing from COVID-19. I know landlords have taken massive rent reductions to try and keep their tenants' small businesses afloat. When considering your tax, how can landlords pay extra when they have lost their tenants? This must be a citywide tax to reduce its financial burden. People come from all over the city to walk and enjoy the Beltline. We are looking at paying $25,000 to the SSD this September. Taxing businesses near the Beltline will increase the rental rate. This will absolutely push up small businesses, artists, and nonprofits, and legacy commercial renters. How high will the rental rates need to be in 15, 20, 30 years to cover?
Hi, my name is Lauren Welsh, and I'm the Executive Director of the Little Five Points Community Improvement District, or CID. I'm calling to express my opposition to the Beltline SSD legislation as currently drafted. The process has been extremely rushed, and the maps have been drafted are arbitrary in their nature, picking and choosing properties well outside of the original TAD and overlay maps simply to pocket additional funds. As a community improvement district, our sole purpose is to fund local infrastructure needs that the city cannot meet. Our members have chosen to be part of the CID so they can tax themselves an additional amount to fill these investment gaps in our local community. CIDs are a tool that were created by the City of Atlanta government well before the Beltline was even being considered, and this legislation is threatening our very existence. Little 5 Point CID is by far the smallest community improvement district in the city, bringing in a tiny fraction of the amounts of our larger peers. To add this Beltline 2.5 millage rate on top of only the smaller CIDs that include ourselves, West End, and Upper West Side, while the entire city benefits from the success of the Beltline, is inequitable. We believe this tax should be spread among all beneficiaries in the city, including single-family homeowners, whose property values have greatly increased as a result of the Beltline. This would be the most equitable and affordable approach and would be of minimal impact when spread across the city. In addition, we asked that the Beltline SSD map be redrawn to take into account the reconfiguration of the East Side Trail to Krog Street that has eliminated the spur to Inman Park Reynoldstown MARTA station. As a result of that spur being eliminated years ago, multiple properties that are currently being drawn into the SSD map are well outside the bounds. Little 5 Point CID joins with our fellow impacted CIDs and the Old Fourth Ward Business Association to ask that City Council slow down and take a very careful look at the boundaries of the other terms of proposed SSD legislation and the inequity and negative impacts of the SSD as currently proposed. There is a better way to accomplish the citywide goal of completing the Beltline Trail, and it should not be pushed through by arbitrary deadlines.
Hi, my name is Stephen Lindsay. I live in Underwood Hills, and I'm calling about the Beltline SSD. I'm opposed to it in its current state because there's no provision to ensure that funds spent in our area after being collected from the local businesses or used on the Beltline projects that are in this area. I'd like you to add a provision that ensures that some funds are reserved for our area in proportion to the revenue raised from local businesses. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Stacey Davis, and I'm calling in regards to the northwest quadrant of the future Beltline. The Northwest Beltline Trail has never been studied, and the exact trail location is not confirmed. I am very concerned about what happens if the trail location is different than the line shown on maps. And properties that have been taxed for 20 years end up more than half a mile away from the Beltline. Where are the guarantees to property owners shouldering this tax that they will actually be within a half mile of a Beltline trail? I confirmed that our local neighborhood taco restaurant will have to pay $800 per year, and they have no assurance that the Beltline will be anywhere near them. Now does not seem to be the time to put this tax through. We need to wait until there is an alignment and perhaps earmark some funds for this area so the Beltline doesn't go over budget somewhere and not get to us. Thank you.
Chairman Westmoreland and committee members, my name is Joe Santoro with the Council for Quality Growth, a not-for-profit trade association representing over 300 companies comprised of architects, attorneys, contractors, developers, engineers, financial executives with a vested interest in quality growth and development in Metro Atlanta. Today, I wanted to just reiterate the Council's continued support of completing the Atlanta Beltline with the creation of the Beltline Special Services District. The Atlanta Beltline has unarguably revitalized the city, spurred economic development, and positioned Atlanta as a unique pending option. The sustained assistance of SSD would provide a multitude of benefits in addition to allowing for the completion of the Beltline. The Council for Quality Growth is fully in support and stands ready to help at any time as you deliberate the creation of the Beltline SSD. Thank you.
This is John Izzard. I live in Inman Park. I own real estate in Little 5 Points, and I serve on the Little 5 Points CID. I'm calling to express concern about the way the map is drawn coming through Little 5 Points. It doesn't follow the same half-mile radius that it does in other parts of along the Beltline, causing properties in Little 5 Points to be taxed for services they're not going to receive. Specifically, I'm concerned that the city helped us set up our CID, but are now allowing or proposing to allow the SSD map to double up on that area, which is going to make it hard for us to get more people to join our CID. These are tenants, specifically tenants of my real estate, who are having a very hard time getting by, and to add this extra tax is a significant burden to them. As it's been explained to me that the line is drawn in an arbitrary way and will be subject to legal challenge, which doesn't make sense that the Beltline would want to put itself in I think the map should be redrawn to mile radius only, and or that this matter ought to be slowed down so that the affected parties can be part of the conversation. Thank you.
Good evening. This is Nicole McGee Hall, representing the West End Community Improvement District. I'm calling to say that although we support the Beltline and the completion of the trail, we have concerns regarding the legislation and being able to fully realize the things that we would like to see happen. Our CID is going to lose revenue with the creation of the SSD, and so we have sent a resolution to City Council, and so we will just reference that resolution, and we ask that you reference that resolution to show the things that we would like to see included as part of the legislation, which would address some of the monies that we will be losing when the owners are taxed without having to consent. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to hearing the results.
Hello, my name is Jeffrey Hart. I live in Underwood Hills in sub-area 8. I'm calling to express my support for tonight's vote in order to ensure that the Beltline is fully funded and built out, especially as it starts to head towards the northwest side of town. We've been waiting for about 16 years to see some development along the Beltline, including trails, waiting very patiently while other parts of the city have utilized the taxes that we happily paid to see their portions built. And I think it's really important to the city and to the northwest side of town to make sure that we complete the entire Beltline, even if it does require more funding. So please vote tonight in a way that ensures the Beltline remains funded and we're able to complete it, especially on the northwest side.
In 2019, my husband and I purchased a home in Reynoldstown, in part due to the proximity of the Beltline. I realized the desire to complete the trail for the benefit of connectivity, but not at all costs. I cannot support this SSD because it is a strategic tax on renters and businesses, many of which are not able to participate in this upcoming election for council members. I don't believe this is a coincidence. While the vision of the Beltline is a grandiose one, it is coming at far too high a cost. Why is City Council not questioning the ability of Atlanta Beltline, Inc. to be good stewards of these funds? The organization is far overdue for rebaselining. How can an organization that spent $250,000 on printing in 1 year be the right organization to complete the trail? How much has Path Foundation spent on printing in the same time period? Why should our small businesses and renters be forced to make up Beltline's deficit when they have made no efforts to reduce this overhead? As a voter, as a resident, I ask for City Council to expect better accountability from an organization with a track record of overpromising and under-delivering, underestimating costs, and excess spending on overhead. City Council, please vote no on the SSD. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Megan Hart. I live in the Underwood Hills neighborhood in the northwest part of the city. I understand that there's a vote or an item on the table about how we fund the Beltline. I would like to add that we, in my part of the city, have been paying these taxes for many years now and patiently waiting our turn. And the idea that the Beltline could run out of money before we're able to see any benefits from that is very distressing to me. I encourage you to do what's necessary to make sure that we can turn that into a reality for our part of the city. It's brought wonderful things to other areas, and we need that here as well. And I believe we deserve our turn. So thank you very much for your time. Appreciate your support. Bye.
Hi there. My name is Heather Sheets. I live in the Underwood Hills neighborhood in Atlanta. I've lived here for over 10 years. I wanted to call and voice my concern regarding the property tax and how we've been contributing to this tax allocation for the Beltline since 2005. And that our area's contributions have made over 20% of the revenue in 2020. So that being said, over the past 16 years, we've been contributing, and unfortunately, we haven't seen any development with the Beltline in our neck of the woods on the northwest side of the territory. And while we really do enjoy the Beltline, all the amenities that it offers, not just for us in Underwood Hills, but also the Atlanta community and city more broadly. But we would really like to see that our hard-earned tax dollars are being used towards the infrastructure and the development of the Beltline in our neighborhood. We'd love to start seeing that come to life. And that's it. So thank you so much for your attention, and appreciate all you all do for Atlanta and our community. Thank you.
Hi, my name is John O'Brien. I'm a resident and also the president of the Blandtown Neighborhood Association, calling to express my strong opposition to the proposed SSD. Let me start by saying that I am supportive of the Beltline and the development of the Beltline in Blandtown. That said, property taxes in my area have already contributed and are currently contributing more than 20% of the total revenue raised within a TAD, and have been doing so for the past 15 years. Despite that, ABI has done little for Blandtown as far as property acquisitions, the route solidification, and indeed there hasn't even been a timetable for planning, much less completion of the Beltline in Blandtown. Again, it's been 15 years, and I'm loath to give another blank check to ABI to complete a project that it hasn't even begun to put any of that money into our segment of the Beltline. In addition, the passage of an SSD in the middle of the pandemic and a pandemic-fueled recession that is already straining local businesses is tone deaf. And even worse, many of the local businesses that will be impacted by the SSD in downtown, may see little or no benefits from the projects funded by their revenue, since the Beltline route hasn't even been identified. I can only support this tax, bottom line, if there are clearly identified metrics and accountability built into the ordinances and written assurances that the money raised in Blandtown and Sub-Area A will be earmarked and guaranteed to result in public Beltline spaces actually being built, constructed, and designed in Blandtown and Sub-Area A. I thank you for your consideration.
All right, that was our final comment by a member of the public. Thank you to everyone for reaching out with your comments. As far as next steps go, we are actually standing in recess during the CDHS committee meeting. So in a second, I will adjourn this tax levy hearing, and then if everyone can hang up and call back into our line using our ID code, in a couple minutes we will reconvene CDHS to consider to finish our agenda, frankly, and then adjourn. And then at the adjournment of that committee meeting, we will actually have our second public hearing of the day. for anyone who would like to come back and listen to those comments again. So with that, thank you to my colleagues for joining us for this hearing, and I will adjourn this meeting.
Thanks, Harry.